You're on.
Hello, I'm Din Fredrickson, in case any of you don't know me. We've been here for about 10 years now, and this is the first time I've ever addressed the congregation or any part of it. So if I'm a little nervous, you'll understand. Many of us for years now have been struggling with trying to combat the monkey mind that we run into every time we try to meditate. When you meditate and you have a hard time getting down into it, it's a question of, am I going to be get into the meditative state about the time I'm supposed to end here? And that's what usually happens to me. So it occurred to me that if you can't successfully fight those thoughts, why not use thought as an asset rather than a liability? And so you can do that if you guide those thoughts and use them toward an end. Well, I'm not here, though, to speak against meditation because it's a proven tool, powerful tool for spiritual life. And it's been used for many generations by many people around the world. And so we're going to be talking about visualization this morning, and there are several steps that we go through. The first one is, of course, to have a purpose. You have to know where you're going in order to get there. And that can be weight loss, it can be improved conditions for the spouse, it can be anything. And it's a number one. Number two is, of course, relaxation. If you're not relaxed, nothing happens, no matter whether you're visualizing or meditating. It's the first requirement that you have to meet. When you relax, normally we can feel it. It just sort of feels good, and you just sit back, and each time you concentrate on it, you feel a little better. Well, when you get into the meditative state, or the what we call the alpha state, you're gone from about 10 hertz per minute, or per second, excuse me, 10 hertz per second down to 5. And as you go down, you feel it when you finally get there, and you're ready to receive anything that might be coming your way. And you're ready to accept it. Well, this is such a good place to be that very often we want to come back. And so what we do is we use a touchstone. You can use a little round stone and keep it in your pocket. Anytime you're, say, standing in a line, or waiting your time, waiting at a stoplight, you can, instead of being frustrated by the car in front of you, you can just rub this little stone and remember how it felt to be an alpha. It's that good. Yeah.
I know you can make a touchstone. You don't actually have to have a stone too. You can, when you do something like visualization, you can do a touchstone that just, if you rub your fingers together, or just hold your thumb and forefinger together. Any kind of touchstone, any kind of a thing.
That's my next point. The next point. Yeah, you could just do that. You can wiggle your nose. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. It's a method that if you cultivate it, you can automatically shift down, and you can do it very quickly once with a little practice. Well, let's see, I lost my place. The next step is you want to be able to, when you come back out, you can picture yourself going down into this lovely place and then coming back out at the end, just like you would at meditation. But you always want to precondition yourself to feel great as you come out. You feel exuberant. You want to be excited. You want to have a lust for life, and that's important because once you've been down in that rather passive position for a while, it might be a little tough to come back and be ready to go. So that's sort of a post-hypnotic suggestion you give yourself. When I get out of this, I'm going to feel great. Well, there's an additional advantage to visualization that has just recently been discovered, and that is that heretofore, scientists have said that your brain is used to perceive things in your environment and to send messages within your body to make your arms move and your lips move and to reason, but it's all done inside. It's all done inside. Well, that's no longer the case. Just recently, I'll come out in many different journals, like Discovery Magazine in July 26th, 21. What they've discovered is that your brain waves are no longer considered to remain in your skull. They go out. They generate a field around you, and that's important, because when that happens, and someone else sitting next to you is having that same thought, those thoughts can, what they call entrain, like two bells. You ring one bell, and the other one begins to vibrate. Well, if both bells are vibrating, then they both have the same frequency. And when they do that, it gets louder. And so when you have thoughts, it happens the same way. Even with pendulums, they will, what they call entrain. After a while, you can start them going like this if they're the same length. After a while, they begin to swing the same way at the same time. And it's the same way with us. When you have 2 people, or 3 people, or 100 people, or 1,000 people thinking the same thought, they multiply. They get stronger. And so that this is finally a way of explaining what happened some years ago in Washington, D.C. Maybe you've heard about this experiment. It's quite famous. They took several groups of people, and they began to pray for peace, day and night, for several weeks. And during this time, the police were puzzled because the violent crimes in Washington went down 25%. They couldn't figure it out. They didn't know what was happening. They said, well, it's prayer. Okay, it's prayer. We don't know what happens, but it's prayer. But we know now that these people were influencing their environment, because as soon as the experiment was over, they went back up to 100% of what's normal for them. It was amazing. And now it no longer seems to be a mystery. That happens a lot in science. Now, there are several methods for visualization. Prayer is one of them. But the one I want to talk about first this morning is the Gabriel Method. This is probably the best example of visualization that you can find. When Gabriel was a little boy, his father was a businessman, a very successful businessman who believed in visualization. He would visualize his successes. And so when John grew up, he said, I wonder if I could apply this to weight loss. And sure enough, he decided that within 2 years of his program, he went from 400 pounds. He lost 220 of that, over half of it. Wow. If you think of the rate of loss, it's phenomenal. And he did it all with his mind. I'd like to pass this around. If just take a look at the back of this, and you see his before, during, and after pictures. Wow. He not only, can you imagine a 400-pound man becoming about 200 pounds and not having any flab on him? Even his skin shrank. And that's with the power of his mind.
You might have to put this in front of the camera. I don't know.
That would be fine.
Can you see that? Does somebody have a camera on?
I can see it through the camera.
A little
Okay.
closer.
That's
And down a little. Okay.
that's a living testimony of the power of the mind.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
fine.
It'll come back.
Now I can just, I'll give you a thumbnail sketch of how he does it. He'll, after the initial period of relaxation, because nothing happens until that happens, he begins by imagining a golf ball size lump of light, just a sphere of light that begins to revolve around his spine, starting at the bottom. And when that happens, that first vertebra begins to shine really brightly. And then he works up to the second vertebra, and it shines. And the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, all the way up, or 24, right up to the base of his skull. And then he imagines this light going out into his limbs, into his feet and his legs, and his abdomen, and his chest and back. Pretty soon he's a big ball of light. Well, of course he's thrilled about this. But he's got all this fat to take care of. So next comes a visualization of a big vortex right in his abdomen. And it swirls and swirls, and it's big and black, just like a black hole. And it sucks, in his imagination, it sucks all that fat right into that thing, and it's never seen again.
Wow.
And he did this 3 times a day for 2 years. Yes.
I just say, after he does that, then he feels himself in that body that's just, and he goes out on the beach and he runs and he swims and he plays in the body. So he uses it.
In his imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So, in his imagination.
In his imagination, yeah.
Okay, got it.
He's kicking at the water and diving into the surf. He's playing and he's imagining all this every day, 3 times a day. And when he does it, the weight just falls off. Well, I can't tell you of a more effective means of weight loss that I've ever heard of. Another one is of Nancy Napier's book. It's called Recreating Yourself. She uses a different technique, But she has several exercises, and they include meeting your future self, imagining your future self, meeting your inner child, the power of myth in the family. She talks about that. Every family has its myths. But my favorite is giving back your hand-me-downs. That's something that we all have. We've all sat on our parents' knees or our uncles' knees and been told such things as, you know, you have to really work hard in this world to get by. If you don't work hard, you're never going to have anything. Or spare the rod and spoil a child, and all those things that we know are not true, but they're still embedded in us somewhere because they were introduced at a very, very vulnerable time in our lives when we were very accepting of everything. Wendy has had an experience with this method, and I'd like for her to talk to just a few minutes about that.
Well, in the end of '88, I was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, and I looked at everything and I read everything about it, and the prognosis for it was just awful. I didn't know anything about it and stuff. And this book, I got this book, and it said you could do your future self of anything. So the wonderful thing is you can, you know, in this book, it's helping you to get over these kinds of things. That's the purpose. And so I read the visualization onto a tape, and I would play the tape over to meet my future self, who had found a resolution with this. And it was like she was 10 years older than me, which seemed impossible, 10 years, you know. But I still went. And when I did it and I saw her in the future, I had also connected with my child self. And my child self would not have anything to do with me. And I hated my child self. I hated my child self that didn't kill people and stop stuff and free me, you know. I hated the child self that didn't kill this body, because it left me here. And that child self was terrified of me, hid. When the child self saw the future self, she ran into the arms of the future self, and the future self just loved on her, and, you know, and all this is happening in a visualization. And I'm just, like, so jealous, you know. But I see his future self, and then I created the touchstone for it, and I could talk to the future self. If something was happening in therapy or something was coming that was scary or something, I could connect with her, and she actually gave me guidance of what to do. Maybe she would say this. I didn't know affirmations then, but she'd give me an affirmation, or she'd tell, you know, one time she had me wear a button that said, "Do you love your children more than you fear your enemies?" It was pivotal in helping me. So there are amazing things can happen from using visualizations. All kinds of things can happen.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Can I?
Back in the mid-'70s, I was working in a garage in El Dorado Springs, and there was a next town over is Nevada, Missouri, and there was a record service over there that was having trouble with a Ford record that kept blowing motors up in it. So I spouted off like a wise young person and said, we could put a Chevy motor in it and that'd fix all your problems. And then after I spouted off, he said, we'll have it at your place Monday morning and have you start on it.
Took you up on it, huh?
So after I left, for the next few days, and this was on a Monday, and so the following Monday I had to start on this truck. So all that week, whenever I went home at night, I visualized how I was going to make all this work. And come Monday morning, I started on it. And for this transformation to work, it went smoothly because I had it all planned out in my mind how to do it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Made your plan and worked your plan. Well, there's one more book that I wanted to let you, well, this is Napier's book here, but for anyone who's interested in it, I think you can see it after the presentation. But there's another book about recreating yourself by Gene Houston, and it's a little different. This is a book that has techniques in it to help you learn how to visualize. Some people have a hard time visualizing, some people have a hard time meditating, and this is for people who want to really know how to visualize. It gives several techniques. Now, one of those techniques is stepping into your future self, your ideal self. How would you do that? Well, she does it with doing it mentally first. You mentally step out into what you would consider your ideal self, standing in front of you. And you just, like a ghost, you just step into that. And learn how it feels, how you want to feel, and how the thing would feel if you were there. Then you step back mentally. And then you remember how it felt. You do it physically. You step forward and you're in your mind's eye, in your ideal self. You know what that feels like. Then you come back. You got this in your mind. So then the next day, or even the same day, you go for a walk. You walk around the block, and each time you take a step, you step closer to your ideal self. And your next step is even closer. And the next step is closer. By the time you get around the block, you're a different person now because you're imagining yourself over and over and over and over again as this person that you want to become. It's only one of her techniques, but it seems to work very well. Oh, yeah. I'm always leaving stuff out, so she's going to...
Sometimes we call in jobs just for the fun of it. And we were caretakers for this woman who had a stroke. And she could walk with help, but her arm was useless. And the doctors weren't giving her any occupational therapy. They said after so long, there's nothing you can do. So we took the principles in this book, and we would have her start with the little finger, and we'd have her see it in her mind, close her eyes and feel herself doing it, and then we'd have her look at it and try to do it, and then we would take our own hand and do it, for the feel. And we did that, and I don't know, it was about a month before her little finger started to move. And within, a couple months to about 2 months,
2 or 3 months, yeah.
the doctor said she was able to go to occupational therapy. By the time we stopped working with her, we were with her for about a year, she could reach out and hold a cone and lift it and put it on another cone and lift her arm up. So there's all kinds of ways to apply it.
When we started with this lady, you could...
I just want to say, Don, I know exactly what visualization is and what it means and how to get there. I bought a house that way.
Good.
I bought a...
It really works,
Did I
doesn't it?
buy a house, it was in California, but I visualized the key in my hand, walking through that door, and it happened. But you have to do it consistently.
Yeah, didn't Jesus say something about that? Well, This morning, I'd like to take you through a visualization of a principle that we talk about a lot in Unity, and that is oneness. The oneness of I am. And so I've come up with an I am visualization that I'd like to go through with you. And I got ahead of myself. That's all right. We'll go into that because we're going to have some time afterwards anyway. It'll be helpful if during this visualization, if you take, excuse me, I should be talking to this thing. If you take anything, when you hear I am, let it be personal. When you hear the word I am, say to yourself, I am that I am. I am. I am. Because unless we personally have the same thought at the same time, then we're not able to enmesh or to multiply the intensity of the thought. All right. And it begins usually with your eyes closed, if you like. Some people like it better that way. But during this time, you'll probably hear a little redundancy in the idea of thought. The only thought that we want to really concentrate on is the one you'll be hearing in your ear. If you have a stray thought, just come back to what I'm saying and it'll disappear. Okay. And I just have to read this part. Most everyone from time to time declares that I am. I am here. I am tired. I am ready. And of course, 100 others. Here we shall focus this quite naturally inherited assumption, which is denied to all other animals on the earth. The phrase I am has enormous significance because it is the name of God. It was announced to Moses at the burning bush. I am that I am. We as children of God share that distinctive designation just as we share the name of our earthly parents. Here today, we have the opportunity to center our minds on the intimate oneness with our Heavenly Father, who art in heaven. Let's start with several slow, deep breaths, and with each exhale, relax a little more than you were able to with the first. Breathe in, breathe out, relax. Breathe in, breathe out, and relax still more. Breathe in and relax and go still deeper. And finally, one last, and exhale. In this way, we relax our bodies and quiet our minds, and center our souls. And we continue this deep breathing at our own rate. And we become one with the whole. let your muscles all over your head. Let nothing relax, excuse me. Let them relax. Let nothing interfere. With drooping cheeks and sagging tongue, let all your worries disappear. Breathing deeply, relax your jaw, your neck, your throat, your chin. Let everything loosen now, even your very skin. Let your shoulders and arms be melting like jello in the sun. Let your hands rest comfortably as if they weighed a ton. Still breathing deeply at your own pace. Let your well-being sink in. Feel your chest and back relax more than it's ever been. Your hips and thighs, you realize, are comfortably at ease, supported gently by the chair, easy as you please. In your knees and calves, ankles and feet, let relaxation be complete. As tension flows out of your toes, let relaxation be replete. Let all your thoughts just float away on a breeze of forgetfulness. Should one persist, you can insist that it be on its way, thus leaving you in blessed peace to commune with your soul. Now you are free to be yourself and recall what it's like to be whole. Once you've entered this sacred realm, your spirit is free to soar to anywhere or when at all, perhaps even to heaven's shore. Sink deeply into the quiet mode, where thoughts just slip away into that mist of forgetfulness of what it had to say. Listen to your breathing, its rhythm and its flow, the assurance of all well-being you have come to know. Deep breath. Notice your aliveness, the present, the pleasure of it all, as you find the natural rhythm of each rise and fall. Remember, you're a spirit being, so focus deep within, into the regions of your heart, and let it all begin. I am fully relaxed in my body and quite content to just be. My mind is free of all concerns, afloat in eternity's sea. beyond the range of time and space, immersed in my own well-being. All motion is still, and the silence filled with pregnant, nascent meaning. Breathe in, breathe out. Here in this realm of the soft ocean of love, nothing need be done, for God pervades the atmosphere, folding all into one. Peace infuses everything, and truth reveals her face, smiling on creation in her fond embrace. I am one with this pregnant void, the womb of all creation, where darkness was upon the face of the deep, the source of all causation, where the word was spoke forth the creation's birth, and love brought forth the earth. Breathe in, breathe out. There is only oneness here, and that oneness is me, perfect and all-inclusive, full and divinely free. I am now unlimited in both quality and size, or any other feature one could verbalize. I am one with anything, for everything is me. I am the grass, I am the trees, I am the mountain, I am the breeze, I am they all together, and each of them is me. And we are all one in the Father, and evermore will be. Now I will take a few moments to freely soar on high, or gently rest in the arms of love. For I am most loved and welcome to bask in the silence thereof. Breathe in, breathe out. Whether I'm cloaked in physical form or spirit soaring free throughout the boundless universe, I exalt in being me. For God made me magnificent, the God stuff in his likeness, to dwell in joy eternally and glory in his brightness. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. When I am ready, I will open my eyes to a world of my knowing. The Father and I are really one, and I am forever growing. And now, as I am bathed in love, in the ocean of well-being, I safely refocus my consciousness. Here in the world I am seeing, refreshed and strong where I belong, among those for whom I care. I am awake, aware, and ready to share the love which is mine to bear. All is well eternally, for only good is real. As a child of God, I am welcome back, refreshed and full of zeal.
That was awesome, Don. That was
Any
really awesome.
comments or suggestions or questions or anything else?
Well, first of all, for those of you who may not know, Don has numerous books that he has written, these wonderful psalms and poems, and I got them out the other day, and I've just been reading through them, and it just am in awe of that. So for you to be able to take this, did you just write this for this class?
I have several of these
Yeah.
visualizations, and this is just a selection from that.
But I love it. I mean, it was so poetic and beautiful, and the flow of it, and I felt it, and you helped me, because, you know, it's like you said, the monkey mind, you helped me to come back. You know, you would say things, and it would jar me back to, oh, wait, my mind is over here. Come back to this. So thank you.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's the trick, isn't it?
So
It's to stay focused.
Brandy Martin said it was so lovely. Jolynn said great works to focus on alignment and well-being. Brandy said bravo. And Jolynn said sounds like, this way, sounds like the words of Jesus, one with the Father.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything else anybody?
Comments? Questions?
I guess we're. Oh, here's that. Wendy has something.
Well, I just, some of you know, most don't know Don. When Don turns almost 70, he had one wife, beloved wife, that died after 34 years. And then he had another beloved wife that died after 11 years and when he was 70. And he was a scientist. He was not a poet. He was not into art. He was not into anything like that. And he prayed for God to send him reasons to stay here and to call in life again. And he started getting amazing poetry in his dreams. And then we met through poetry. And now you should see his art. If you think his poetry is good, his art is just increasing. And he's just, you can call in life. And at 91, he's still going strong.
Don, thank you so much.
Do we still have time? Yes.
We have plenty of time.
That's why I was.
Does anybody have any comments or questions before Don steps down, I guess?
That's good. Okay.
And I don't mean for you to step down. If you want to give the announcements, I'll be glad to give you.
No, I'm not very good at that.
So, again, thank you, Don. That was wonderful. I'll tell you what, I went into such a deep place there. Just your voice and the words and the feeling. That was wonderful. I could listen to that all day long. So we have, by far, the best speakers in Springfield, Missouri. Hands down. And we have a few of them here in class, too. And so anyway, next week we have James Masters. And I don't even know the subject of your talk, James.
Spiritual bypassing and metaphysical malpractice.
Okay.
Spiritual bypassing and metaphysical malpractice.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. So don't forget, I'm going to just mention this every time. I don't know that we have our basket in here, but always that is how we part of how we survive. It's how we thrive. It's part of our nature to give, and that we do here at this church. As I've said before, we are the most dynamic church I've ever been a part of, and I just can't see anybody for the kind of church that we are, and as maybe, I guess you'd want to call it small in population, although it's growing. We are so active, and we're doing so much, and I'm just so proud to be a part of that. So keep that thought of giving and giving and giving, just to keep ourselves going and thriving. So I believe that's it, unless anybody has any comments. We will go ahead and step back to the back and do a little circle. So.